Hello, Podfeet.
And we are live.
We are.
Hello.
Hello.
I gotta mute you somewhere.
Yeah.
There you go.
Put me
Okay, I
up
can hear
on
you in one
Mimo.
place.
You're taking me
We are
down on
talking
Discord?
100% on top of each other. Is that a problem going on, or are we just being rude?
There is a little delay.
Okay. Yeah, my video looks a little stuttery there.
A little bit.
It doesn't look stuttery in Mimo Live, but it looks stuttery as it gets to you.
Wi-Fi's off.
Wi-Fi's off? Your
Okay.
Wi-Fi off?
Yeah, it's off here. I think it calmed down.
All right.
It's looking better now.
Okay, good. So, Alan says it's time for roll call, so we shall do a roll call. We've got Alan and Kevin and Bruce and Jason and Frank. Wait, Frank, didn't you tell me you weren't going to be here this week? No, it's Kurt who's not here this week. Kurt sent in a contribution that I'm going to play next week. And John and Mike and Rick and Sandy and Michael, and we have no wheels down here coming in this week for some reason. Verso's not really here. We got John in there already. So I think that is it for roll call. Did I miss anybody, Steve?
I think you got them. If she missed someone, let us know. I'm sure the chat room can pipe
I want
up.
everybody to get credit, you know. All Trail says it was an F-102, Steve.
Okay,
Wow,
that's
loud.
that's even older. Sorry, I had to move my mic.
Yeah, you can mute when you move your mic too. Just saying.
Yeah.
Let me drop in the starting music here, and we'll arm a track and see if we could do a little test recording. Make sure you guys can hear everything. Here we go. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast. Oh, sorry, I read hope he's okay, and then I stopped looking. Oh. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast. Okay, could you hear that? Steve?
Looked good to me. Sounded good. Well, I wasn't listening in
Okay.
Discord, though, so...
Okay.
should-
Everybody could hear it. Bruce could hear it. Alan says a tragedy. All right, good. Okay.
All right.
Let's see. Then I think I am going to mute Steve and start recording. There we go. Hi, this is Allison Sheridan of the NosillaCast podcast, hosted at podfeet.com, a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Apple bias. Today is Sunday, April 4th, 2021, and this is show number 830. Well, I had a fantastic week this week because I got my COVID shot. So I am super excited that in about 6 weeks, I'm going to have what my friend Diane refers to as Freedom Day. And Steve got his the day before me, so we will be fully vaccinated in 6 weeks, and I could not be more excited. I feel like I could feel the beginning of the end. I hope you live somewhere where you can get yours, and of course, everybody should go get it. All right, with a, let's see, I stuttered there. Let's see. All right, do a cut here. So, Steve, how many chapter marks do you, oh, not yet, I guess. Here we go. Let's see. Oh, nope. I did a save. NCF. There we go. Now I can do my Hindenburg. We have 2 chit chats this week. All right. Oh, that's what I'm going to do. Yeah. Undo. You know, with a 15-plus year streak of never missing a weekly episode of the NosillaCast, I will move heaven and earth to make sure I never miss a show, including impinging on a few friends of mine to pick up the slack if I go on vacation. But luckily for me, Chit Chat Across the Pond isn't quite as much pressure, so I've been a little more relaxed with only producing a podcast when I have a guest I'm really excited about talking to. We've missed a few Chit Chat Across the Ponds lately because I don't freak out if I don't find a guest. The flip side, though, is that relaxed attitude lets me double up on episodes when I want to. This week, I did a Chit Chat Across the Pond Light and an episode of Programming by Stealth, so you get 2 for the price of 1. Let's first talk about Chit Chat Across the Pond Light. Matt Campbell, co-founder and chief technology officer of Numa Solutions, is an accessibility expert, and he asked me to come on the show to talk about two big concerns he has. His goal in coming on the show is to increase awareness on these two problems in hopes that the message will get to people who can head off the problems. Let's talk about these two different things for just a moment. The first is called accessibility overlays. Accessibility overlays are intended to help companies pass accessibility standards tests, but according to Matt, they often actually make websites less accessible. To solve this problem, he's written an open source browser extension for Chrome and Edge called Accessibility that will disable these overlays if they make your web browsing problems, come on. To solve this problem, he's written an open source browser extension for Chrome and Edge called Accessibility. It disables these overlays if they make your web browsing problematic. Now, the second problem is a little tougher. It's a problem with Cloudflare's new service entitled Remote Browser Isolation. This technology is designed to help companies protect their employees from browser-based attacks, replacing VPNs. But the way it accomplishes this is a problem for accessibility. So the idea is that your employees browse to a website, but the URL request goes to Cloudflare instead, where it then navigates to the site. Cloudflare, I'll get this right yet, Cloudflare renders the site, and then it sends only JavaScript draw commands back to your browser. This means the original elements are not sent to your web browser, which means screen readers have nothing to read and mobility tools have nothing to connect with. Now, Matt participated in the beta and warned Cloudflare about the problems, but the service came out of beta recently without concern for accessibility in spite of his efforts. Now, I do really encourage you to listen to this episode of Chit Chat Across the Pond to hear the full details of it. But remember, Matt is hoping that maybe the IT folks amongst us can keep their collective ears to the ground within their own companies and make sure that this tool doesn't get implemented without understanding the implications for accessibility. After my conversation with Matt, I signed up to test Cloudflare's remote browser isolation myself so I could watch what it's doing in the JavaScript console. I haven't figured out how to make it go on my own yet, so I'm going to need Matt's help with that. I did reach out to the Cloudflare people about this problem using their press link. I got a response, but since it was a technical question, the salesperson responded with, "Thank you for bringing this to our attention. We will review this specific case on our side as we aim to make these products accessible to everyone. I have pinged our team." I'm not entirely sure if this means "go away, you bother me," or if it means "we'll get back with you soon." I'm going to keep pinging my contact until I find out the answer to that question, and you'll be sure I'll report back on this. Again, definitely go listen to Chit Chat Across the Pond 678 with Matt Campbell on accessibility overlays and Cloudflare remote browser isolation in your podcatcher of choice.
Well, Alan really enjoyed the episode.
Good. Oh, good. I'm glad you liked it.
He said, it's the best episode segment ever.
Wow.
So that's an endorsement.
That's saying something, huh?
I should say so.
All right. It looks like I'm supposed to save or something, so let me do another link there. All right. So now I got to read 679.
Oh, did you chapter mark this? I missed that.
I did. You can see the chapter
There,
marks.
there it is. Well done.
I did it because Kevin said to. I mean, what else? Oh, yeah. Oh, good. Good, Jason. Yeah, it was pretty interesting. I hope he's right.
Yeah.
It's pretty inflammatory if he's wrong. That's kind of why I wanted to test it, was to be sure, you know? Anyway. All right, here we go. Muting Steve. And now let's talk about the second Chit Chat Across the Pond. This was a Programming by Stealth with Bart Busschots entitled My First Git Remote. I like that because it sounds like a little kid getting like, my first car. Anyway, last time on Programming by Stealth, Bart introduced the concept of remote repositories, also known as remotes. It was one of those episodes where we learned a lot, but we didn't get to apply anything that we learned. In this week's installment, though, we get our hands digitally dirty as we create a bare repository, which is a repo with no working tree, and we declare it to be a backup of our local repo. We learn how to fetch and view remote branches and tags, how to push everything to the remote, and then after making some changes, push them to our remote backup. We're still in a bit of a sandbox as we do all of this on one computer inside a couple of local folders, but the lessons exercise our new muscles to get ready for the big leagues. There we go. Who's looking at Baby Yoda?
Digital
There's a
dirt.
Baby Yoda and a Baby Yoda.
Yep.
Can you tell there's two of them there?
The second one's a little bit hard to see.
Yeah.
He's kind of blocking Sandy's pillow a little bit there.
Well, I'm sorry about
Actually,
that.
both
I'm
of
not
them
in
are.
charge of the layout. If you would like to come in and fix that, you're welcome to, dear.
I think we're good.
Yeah, John, that was actually made by a listener's wife. I can't remember who it was. I should remember that because it's very cool. All right, what is my next chapter? Next up.
Oh, this is
Oh,
Tales
there's
of
not
Woe.
a chapter here.
Tales
No,
of
I'm going to
Adventure.
do an update on my stand goal first.
Oh,
Yeah, there's no chapter. Well, I can put a chapter here.
oh,
but
there. I see it. Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah, people might want to.
I'm going to put a chapter here, but there's no blog post.
Okay. So you can't use the tool. Oh,
Yeah, I tried. It didn't
like
do
an
anything.
animal.
I know. All right, here we go. Meeting Steve. Last week, I told you all about the new cool tools they added in Parallel's toolbox, one of which is called Break Time. It's a little applet that dims your screen and locks you out of playing at intervals you define. I wanted to see if it could improve my success at meeting the 12 stand per day goal of the Apple Watch. I'm happy to report back that it definitely has improved my awareness of how often I just sit for extended periods of time. I set break time to go off every 50 minutes for a duration of 3 minutes. When it goes off, it usually lets me finish typing a sentence, or I can snooze it, or I can tell it to skip this break. Most of the time, I simply just do as it tells me. Now, I often have little chores I need to do, like, putting away folded laundry or filling the pet food containers, and these things only take just a couple of minutes. So instead of letting those nag at me that I have this big stack of little tasks, I use the break time reminder to get them done. I also have started purposely getting off my backside to tell Steve things in person instead of our usual method of texting each other inside the same house. It's especially good at getting my break time credit if he's downstairs and I'm upstairs. Now, break time gives you full credit for these unreminded breaks as well. Unfortunately, as I suspected, if it does give you credit if you just sit there and don't play with your keyboard or mouse. So if I watch a video for 3 minutes or more, I have to remind myself to stand up and run around a bit. I noticed it gave me credit twice during the recording of security bits today when I was definitely sitting there not doing, just sitting in front of my computer. But I wasn't using my hands, so maybe it's like a carpal tunnel rest. Anyway, I'm quite pleased with break time from Parallel's Toolbox, and I plan to continue to use it. Now, one more thing on Parallel's Toolbox. I wrote to the folks about the accessibility issues that I talked about last week, and my contact, Alexander Patse, told me that they would definitely look at it and acknowledge that they were kind of still pushing back accessibility improvements into the schedule due to other more important tasks. So they have it on their schedule, but they just keep pushing it back. I'm hoping that bringing it to his attention might nudge that forward in time a bit. He also told me that they're coming out with a redesign really soon. That's always my luck. Right after I review something, a new version comes out. Alexander said it's really nifty, and he hopes I'll test it for accessibility with my other friends and give them feedback and test it out and give it a good fleshing out. You can be sure I'll tell you all about it when it comes out. There we go. Alrighty then. Should I save? Maybe
That would be a great idea.
Here's an idea. Oh, this is going to be a long read.
Yes.
Yeah, Stephen Getz won't be complaining about this one being a short show. You think this one's going to be too nerdy, Steve? Too deep?
Maybe for some people, but others might enjoy it.
What's the Twitter name for Matt Campbell? I don't know if I got one. Did he say in the interview? If he gave me one, it's in the show notes, so you should be able to follow the link, Alan. Alrighty. Thanks, Steve. Or take a drink of water for this one. Many years ago, Steve bought a Vantage View weather station from a company called Davis Instruments. This weather station transmitted over radio frequency to a base station with a display inside our house so we could see the temperature, humidity, rain, wind direction, and speed. He was absolutely delighted with it, even though in Southern California it's pretty much always 72 degrees outside. As fun as it was to see the weather on the little display inside the house, he also wanted to see the same information reported on the internet to a service like Weather Underground so he could access his weather information from anywhere. Steve worked for literally weeks on a way to accomplish this task, and in the end, he was successful. The basic problem was that the base station that goes inside the house didn't have a network card. He bought a device from Ambient called it's called a Medio Bridge. The Medio Bridge is basically a little TP-Link router with an Ethernet jack and a Wi-Fi card. It comes pre-installed with the Medio Bridge software, which is how you can tell the weather station to talk to the internet. I remember after he finally got this working, I asked Steve, I said, hey, you should write a review about the whole process because that was really cool. And, how you got it on the internet. I remember at the time what he said. He said, I couldn't possibly explain what I had to do. It was far too complicated. Well, I believed him because I remember at one point he actually had to get NOAA involved in helping him. And yes, I mean the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Turns out they really like that people have weather stations and share the data because it gives them the data to work with for their cause. We're going to circle back to talking about the Medio Bridge software in a bit, but I want to explain why I'm talking about this so many years after he bought the Davis weather station. Back when Steve first set up the Davis weather station and had to do that bit of Frankenstein assembly to get on the internet, only serious weather nerds were doing this. But now weather stations are all the rage. The technology has advanced quite a bit, and there's hardly any faffing about required to get them on the internet. We know this to be true because for Christmas, Steve bought our son Kyle and our son-in-law Nolan, bought them each their own ambient weather station WS2902C, and they were a breeze to set up. Steve helped them install the weather stations, and because the base stations come with built-in Wi-Fi and the software necessary to communicate with weather services online, it took maybe a half an hour to get them displaying data on the internet, and so they could get it from their phones. It was a beautiful thing. Now, the only problem with the new ambient weather stations for the kids was now that they were way cooler than Steve's older Davis weather station. The new ones collect more data than Steve's Davis, and they have bright LCD displays. Steve didn't complain, but I knew he'd be really happy if I got him one of the new ones for his birthday. I also figured he needed one that was better than the ones he gave to his kids, so I splurged for the Ambient Weather WS2000, which is one model up from theirs. Now he can track all the weather info we had before, but also solar radiation, UV levels, as well as sunset and sundown, as sunrise and sundown times. The base station inside the house is a beautiful, bright TFT display that is absolutely gorgeous. And most importantly, it was a breeze to get on the internet. Now, a few of our friends have gotten weather stations recently, and I was pretty sure our friend Diane was feeling left out, but she really didn't want to spend the money to get one herself. We knew that Davis would find a good home at Diane's house. The weather station is still perfectly functional, and if you view the stats on the internet, it's really swell. But that meant we had to figure out how to get it on the internet at her house. And this is where the real story begins. It was quite a nerdy adventure, and I don't believe that we would have ever succeeded without the knowledge that Bart has been pouring into my brain for all these years. As we come across pieces I learned from Bart, I'll tell you about them. When Steve got the new ambient weather station, he took down the Davis, he unplugged the base station along with its Medio Bridge Wi-Fi router, and he removed the Davis weather station from the Weather Underground online service so he could have a clean start with the new ambient weather station. Again, the ambient was a dream to set up, and after about a week, it was time to get to work on giving Diane the Davis with its Medio Bridge. We knew it would be tricky to get the Medio Bridge online at Diane's house if we had been able to go inside her house to do it. But with all of us keeping our strict quarantines, it would have been an absolute nightmare to walk her through it remotely. It's just, an impossible task. To work with something this fiddly over a FaceTime call was not something we were looking forward to. we decided to do as much as we could at our house before handing it off to her. That turned out to be a very good decision because it took the two of us the better part of 3 days to get this working again. We plugged the Meteor Bridge into power and we waited for its little blinky lights to settle down. Now again, this Meteor Bridge, it's just a little router. That's all it is, but it has this specialized software on it. We plugged it in, the blinky lights settled down, and right then the Eero Mesh Router app announced that a new device had connected. It showed its name was Meteor Bridge, and it told us the IP address of the Meteor Bridge. It was 192.168.10.34. Now, if you have an Eero Mesh Router, you're going to understand already what has gone wrong. But let's just set that aside. In order to configure this device, all we have to do is point a web browser at that IP address. So we dutifully entered 192.168.10.34 into Safari, and it responded with, "Can't connect to the server." Well, that's weird. I tried pinging that IP address from the terminal, and I got no response. I sat there baffled for a bit, and then I realized what was wrong. 192.168.4.x is our main network. 10.x is the guest network, and the Meteor Bridge was on 10.34. No problem. We'll just switch over to the guest network on the Mac we were working with. But we got the same error indicating no connection to server. And that's when I remembered that the whole purpose of using a guest network is to allow devices to connect out to the internet, but not have access to your internal network, which means they can't talk to each other. So I always put all the dodgy devices, especially IoT devices, on my guest network so they can't do any damage if they get compromised. Things like Windows PCs, those go on the guest network too. So we're trying to be on the same network as the Meteor Bridge, but we aren't really on the same network. We're getting squirted out to the internet and no place else. Steve remembered that our previous router, the Netgear R8500, had a toggle where you could allow devices on the guest network to talk to each other and then toggle it back to having every device be isolated. The Eero has no such toggle that I can find. I'm pretty sure I must have set up the Meteor Bridge originally using the Netgear, or I should say Steve did, and when we slid over to the Eero, the Meteor Bridge just came along for the ride without any fussing around with it, because I would remember having to deal with this. The Meteor Bridge does have an Ethernet jack on it, like I mentioned up front, so we tried hardwiring it into our network to avoid that whole guest network problem, but for some reason the Eero app never showed it had connected over Ethernet, and without the Eero app seeing it, there's no way I could ever talk to it. And I never did figure out why the Ethernet jack didn't work. Now, picture how you'd tackle this problem. You've got a device, it's on your network, but you can't talk to it at all, and the only way you can talk to it is over the network. What would you do? Well, all I could think of was to try to reset the Meteor Bridge. The Meteor Bridge has a reset button on it, so I held it down for a while. No joy. I held it down for a longer while. No joy. I unplugged it, held it down for a while, plugged it in while holding it down. No joy. And of course, by no joy, I meant it kept happily joining the network, the guest network, at 10.34. It was time to go off to the Googles for a solution. Well, it turns out there is a way to set the Meteor Bridge up without network access to it, but it's not like anything I've ever seen before. Luckily, Meteor Bridge is very well documented on the wiki at meteorbridge.com, and in there I found the solution. The fine folks who support Meteor Bridge have created an online simulator that looks just like the web interface to your own device. You enter your network credentials into the simulator and then download a configuration file that contains those credentials. Now, we were a bit trepidatious typing in our Wi-Fi SSID and password to a random site on the internet, but I figure that to use that information for harm, someone would have to figure out where I live and then drive to my house to get on my Wi-Fi using that password. And of course, I don't reuse it anywhere else. So we set the simulator up and we downloaded the configuration file. So I should elaborate that what we did in this configuration file was we gave it the main network, not the guest network. So we're going to try to replace the credentials with the ones to the main network. To update the little TP-Link router with the new Meteor Bridge configuration, you simply put that config file you've downloaded onto a thumb drive, you plug that into the router, and you boot it up. The router finds the file, updates its settings, and you should be good to go. When the Meteor Bridge booted up with the config file from the thumb drive, we squealed with delight when the Eero app told us a new device called Meteor Bridge had joined with a 192.168.4.x IP, which meant it was on the non-guest network. It was on the good one. We typed the new shiny IP into a browser and boom, we were in. We might have danced a little jig at the pure joy of this. I mean, at this point, we're like a day and a half into trying to fix this. Well, at this point, I figured my work was done, and Steve could just take it from here. He was the one who had successfully gotten both kids' weather stations and his own new one onto Weather Underground and another service called Ambient Weather, so I didn't think I would be needed. In retrospect, it was pretty adorable of me to think this nightmare was over. We were just now descending into the seventh circle of hell. To connect a weather station to Weather Underground, this is all you have to do. You navigate to wonderground.com. You enter the location of the device. There's a button you're supposed to push, which is supposed to open a new web page that will reveal a station ID and a key it will have assigned to you. You then enter this station ID and key into the Meteor Bridge interface. Once Weather Underground and the Meteor Bridge know about each other, the Meteor Bridge should start pumping data up to the Weather Underground website. But on that day, after entering the info about the location of the weather station into Weather Underground, clicking the button, it triggered an error. The error simply said, "Sorry, something went wrong." That's it. Well, without this button working, we can't get a station ID and key, which means we can't get the weather station onto Weather Underground. Steve and I tried probably 12 different ways to make this work. We changed browsers, we emptied cache, we typed in the address for the device using a map. We tried just using a map to drop the pin for the location, but all methods just return, "Sorry." Remember at the beginning of the saga, I said that Bart pouring information in my head for more than a decade came in handy? The first time I used things I learned from Bart was earlier when I tried to ping a device that was on a different network, which gave me the clue to the problem. The second time I used something I learned from Bart was when I was faced with this "sorry" error. In programming by stealth, we often interact with our web apps through what's called the browser console. It's a little area that pops down at the bottom of a web page. This is where real error messages get printed, not human-friendly ones like "sorry." I popped open the console by holding down Command-Option-C, and there were two errors listed. One said 400, and the other one said 404. Now, error 400 indicates that the server cannot or will not process the request due to something that is perceived to be a client error. Well, that wasn't much help, but error 404 means the server can't find the requested resource. My suspicion from this was that the service that should generate our station ID and key had actually gone down. It was time to abandon that whole path because there's nothing you can do from the client side to fix a 404 error. Luckily, Weather Underground isn't the only game in town to which you can send your weather data. Another option is Ambient Weather, the makers of our new weather station. This interface is even more simple to set up. At ambientweather.com, you start by selecting Add a Device. You're then asked to enter the location and a few other facts about it and create a name for it. Then you enter the MAC address of the network interface card of your weather station, and in our case, that's the Meteor Bridge. The MAC address was nicely printed on the outside of the box, but it was also available in the Meteor Bridge interface. Once we've told Ambient Weather to expect weather data from the MAC address and our physical location, we need to tell the Meteor Bridge to send it to Ambient. Back into the Meteor Bridge web interface on the Services tab, we tell it to send Ambient Weather, and the Meteor Bridge makes us enter the MAC address again, which makes no sense because it knows its own MAC address. We click Save, and we get an error. All right. Interpreting this error is the third time that Bart's decade of knowledge dumping comes in handy. I looked at the error and it says something about SSL and it gives us an error number. I looked the error up in the Googles and I learned that the error is saying that I'm trying to make an insecure connection to a secure service. In other words, the Meteor Bridge software is sending an HTTP request when the ambient weather site is expecting an HTTPS request. Now, we don't have any way of telling the Meteor Bridge to use HTTPS when contacting Ambient. After poking around a little bit in the interface, Steve pointed out something curious in the License tab of the Meteor Bridge interface. There's a warning which says that our 2-year license had expired and hadn't been renewed since 2018. To be honest, we never even realized there was a license to be renewed because, it had always worked. Back in 2016, secure websites were not widely used yet, but in 2021, they sure are. Perhaps if the license was renewed, we'd get a new version of the MediaBridge software that supports SSL. Right next to the expired license notification, there was a Soviet-era style-looking PayPal logo, so we gave it a push. I'm sure you're going to be shocked to learn that we got an error. I forget exactly what the error was, but we surmised that it was telling us this PayPal link was no longer functioning. We went back to the MediaBridge wiki to see if there was a way to pay that wasn't from 2016, and we found a link to where you could pay for a license renewal through a completely different service. Now, before pushing the button, I scrolled to the bottom of the web page of the wiki to see the date had been updated. I thought it might be an indication of whether paying for the MediaBridge license might yield a modern version of the app. I couldn't have been more delighted to see that the wiki page had been modified in January of 2021. We paid the $25 for a 2-year license, and as soon as we loaded the new license key into the MediaBridge, we saw the physical device start its blinking boot up sequence. When it settled down, we went back to the web page for the MediaBridge, and we were again delighted to see a dramatically changed view into the device. It was the same kind of tabbed web interface, and it clearly wasn't rendering well. It had giant empty gaps in the view, but that actually sorted itself out over the next day. I don't know exactly why. Anyway, we could see from screenshots I'd saved before the upgrade that our software revision went from 2.7 in 2016 to 5.1 in 2021. We excitedly flipped to the Services tab, and the Ambient Weather section no longer reported an SSL error. We went to ambientweather.com, and again we were delighted to see that the weather data was streaming into the website from Diane's future weather station. At this point, I think we both cried a little bit that we had finally succeeded after 3 days. The next day, Steve scheduled to hand the weather station off to Diane. Before the handoff, Steve went back into the Services tab on the MediaBridge software to verify that Ambient Weather was still working. Not only was it functioning, Weather Underground was now working. Our suspicion, based on knowledge learned from Bart on how to read website errors, was correct. The web service required to give us the station ID and key had gone down right when we needed it, and it was now back up. So we were able to enter that information into the MediaBridge, and now that weather station reports to both services. The last and very scary step was to change the Wi-Fi SSID and password to Diane's network and hit save. Now realize, as soon as we did this, there would be no turning back. We would not be able to make any changes to the device because it would no longer know how to connect to our network. We entered our Wi-Fi info and we hit save and rebooted the device. When the MediaBridge normally boots up, one of the LEDs blinks slowly, then it blinks quickly, and then it goes solid. But that's not what happened. It continued to blink quickly, and it never went solid. We stared at it and kind of debated at length what to do. We saw that we had 2 options. We could start over by downloading the configuration file from the simulator and going through every single step again, or we could act on blind faith that it actually was working, that it was doing the fast blink because it couldn't get on the network. And we could hand it off to Diane, close our eyes, and hope it worked. Now, my personal vote was for option 2, even though in my heart I figured nothing had gone right so far, so why would it work now? I convinced Steve that we might as well try the path of least work first. We gave it to Diane, she brought it home, plugged it in, it joined her Eero network immediately, telling her the IP it had received. She navigated to the IP in a browser, and it worked perfectly. She could see her new-to-her weather station reporting data on Weather Underground and Ambient Weather. I'm kind of glad Steve never gave you a review of the setup of his original weather station, because I think this story of discovery was a lot more entertaining, at least for us. We enjoyed ourselves, even through the emotional ups and downs. I enjoyed it because I got to work with the tools Bart has been teaching me all these years. Steve enjoyed it because it actually worked in the end. Diane enjoyed it because she's got a weather station just like all the rest of the cool kids. Woo!
That was a long one.
Yeah,
that was probably
I had fun reading that. It would have been even more fun if I had remembered. I knew I was going to screw this up again, Sandy. Sandy sent me a typo, and I didn't fix it. I got to go find it because she gave it to me. And nobody noticed that it said sunset to sundown. Steve read this too.
That one slipped by me, that's for sure.
I tried try to put. That's what it was. And I got to that and I was like, oh man, Sandy told me that one. Why didn't I fix that? I stumbled over it. Try to put. Okay, I try to put. There we go. Get rid of that one. And then find sundown. Sunrise and sundown. Actually, Steve, you wrote that.
Did I?
Because I remember I only put a couple of things in there, and you added sunrise and sundown in there.
Where is
Actually,
this?
Sunset and sundown. Right before Davis Weather Station going to a new home, a paragraph and a line ahead of that. And there was another one, but I'll never find it. Yeah, it's too far back. I knew I wouldn't remember it. I'm about to push the change, so sending to blog. I had fun. Only you could make such a tale of hassle entertaining and come out triumphant. Yeah, nothing fiddly in that. Oh, Ian's here. Hi, Ian. That's who was writing. I didn't know you snuck in here. Nice to see you. All right.
Ian particularly liked your Soviet era comment, Soviet era PayPal button.
Oh, good. Yeah. I always think of that when I see like real old, nasty looking
Websites.
Yeah, websites or like open source tools, you know, where they're just real Soviet era style. Okay, this can be a long show. I wrote another post and I'm not giving it to you because this is going to be really our Steve Gibson site. Yeah, exactly. Got a weather station just like all the rest of the cool kids. Yeah, utilitarian. Yeah, this one, you know how you can tell when like it's a real low image button, like it's an image button, but it's real low resolution, or like yours used to be, yeah, or like mine used to be, because she's got a weather station just like all the rest of the cool kids. Michael Carpelson is a little quick, I think, and a little bit of a at the beginning of that. I think I'll take that out. Split. There we go. How's this sound? Weather station, just like all the rest of the cool kids. Michael Carpelson is a senior staff engineer. Oh, you
Didn't
muted.
listen.
I didn't listen. Like all
Didn't
the rest
listen.
of the cool kids. Michael Carpelson
Yeah,
is a
that's too
senior
long.
staff engineer. Okay, I just made it shorter. Don't talk over it this time. You talked when I started here. Rest of the cool kids. Michael Carpelson is still too long?
A little bit. I mean, we're cutting hairs, splitting hairs now.
Okay, here's my final offer. Rest of the cool kids. Michael Carpelson is a senior staff. Okay, yeah, that stipple tool. That's a perfect example. Okay, you guys, I'm gonna split stereo on that because you guys will tell me that you can't hear it. Vision loss. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
All right. So when we talked, okay, I'm going to have to keep going on this. Oh, wow. 46 minutes before chit chat. I could save that, couldn't I?
Well,
what would you guys do to me if I saved it?
So what's happening next week?
Man, whatever. It's less work for me next week if I save it.
True.
Because let me see how long chit chat is. Oh, wait, that was me. Hang on. On the chit chat file, that one's mine. And Bart's. CCTPF.
Bruce.
Oh, wait. Oh.
That's pretty good.
What do you say?
I have a Russian Ushanka, the fur hat with the ears, complete with hammer and sickle. It's great fun to wear that going through the security checkpoint at my U.S. government facility job.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, I'm trying to envision us doing that where we worked.
Yeah, that would. I don't know that they think that was that funny.
Yeah, the closed area I was in probably would not like that.
No, not as much. Let's see. bring this in. No, that's not right. Hang on. Third time's a charge. Security bits, not chit chat, not NosillaCast. Okay, let's see how long that show is. It is. Come on, stop being fiddly. Why is my Windows not increasing in size? There we go. Yeah, it's 1 hour and 7 minutes.
Woo!
I'm saving it, guys. Yeah, it wasn't supposed to be a chit chat. Will you be mad at me?
You're talking about moving security bits?
No, I'm talking about moving I'm taking multi-segment displays out.
Oh, I see. And then,
31.
but go with security bits because that's timely, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, you can't cut that.
You don't want that going stale.
Yeah. Those people are going to be kind of confused, but let me go find. I'm going to take that out of the. Okay. Okay. Got that one stored aside. So now I got to get rid of this chapter. Can you just delete? Yeah, you can. And then delete those. Now I got to go back. Whee! Wait a minute. Oh, how long is that going to be? Did I screw something up? Ah, no, there it is. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to go right here to pledge break. Don't let me forget to do the security bits chapter after pledge break.
Got it. Kevin?
That's the one I screw up. All right. Here we go. I often talk about how awesome the people are who help keep all the shows at the Podbeat podcast available. Okay, you can't stumble on your own show name. I often talk about how awesome the people are who help keep all the shows at the Podfeet podcast available without ads, including those who do it through Patreon. This week, I'd like to highlight 2 people in particular. Bruce is a returning Patreon. They're not called Patreons, they're called patrons. Garbage in, garbage out. Whatever I write, I read. I often talk about how awesome the people are who help keep all the shows at the Podfeet podcast available without ads, including those who do it through Patreon. This week, I'd like to highlight 2 people in particular. Bruce is a returning patron. At some point, Bruce stopped contributing, but then he came back. I love that he was able to do this because, you know what? It's all about you being in control of your money and what you want to support. I do thank everyone when they contribute, and I never even go look at who stops. So it's a fun little surprise when people like Bruce come back. The second person I'd like to thank is Ryan, who decided to make his pledge bigger. That to me is a super great vote of confidence. If you'd like to support the shows through Patreon, you know where to go because you know everything good starts with podfeet.com, so it's podfeet.com/Patreon. Oh. Dropped out because of that house build project you mentioned. Forgot to get back on until I got re-engaged.
Well, thank you for rejoining.
Yeah, I never look, and it's not like I'm ever going to say to somebody, hey, why did you quit?
So you're going to remember, right?
Yeah, I'm going to right now. I was just noticing something interesting. I only just now noticed that the chapter marks, say how long each chapter was.
Oh, that's cool.
They are. I thought they were absolute time, but they're the
duration of each segment.
Yeah.
Cool.
You know what I could do? That seemed like a lot more than 7 minutes and 40 seconds, didn't it? For the weather station?
Yeah, maybe you should play the end of it. Make sure you got it all.
Yeah. Podfeet.com. Oh, that's not it. Diane enjoyed it because she's got a weather station just like all the rest of the cool kids. Oh, Rose is here. Hey, where's Jill? Jill didn't send in an excuse, did she?
Didn't hear one.
Break time wants me to take a break. I'll see you guys. I got to go for 3 minutes. Let's see. So let's put in security bits Allison, and then security bits Bart, and then let's split this one to stereo. Split that one to stereo, and then let's get rid of Bart on my channel and me on his channel, and let's slide this up and see how it looks, and let's chop.
Let's hear that blink. Don't cut it.
You want to hear the blink first? Okay, before I cut it. Blink.
Got it.
I tried. Who did I get to do it? I made somebody do plink for me, and they were just 100% deadpan. They went plank. Oh, security bits music. That's what I'm missing. I knew I should have music going somewhere. And let's put it right there, and then let's see how this looks. That looks like we're climbing on top of each other, but I think we talked over each other a bunch here. So it's podfeed.com/Patreon. Well, it's that time of the week. Oh, a little quick.
Yeah, touch, but it was pretty close.
Really? I think
Yeah, not much.
A little bit more. Well, it's that time of the week
Perfect.
again. It's time for Security Bits with Bart Shots. And actually, you know what? Oh, I gotta show you my favorite thing. Okay, what I want to do is I want to take all of these tracks, all three of these, and move them all to the left, not the upper one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Option Command, and I'm going to click the one that says the Security Bits music, and watch what happens. Selected them all. I just learned that. Very excited. Patreon. That's better. Okay.
Yeah.
And make sure Bart sunny bike okay. Ride, huh?
Yeah, no, this is. I'm liking the fact that we've reached that point in the year where the sine wave is at its steepest, and the days are getting noticeably longer. It's so nice.
Like every day is nicer.
Every day is nicer, and
I didn't get anything. Everything's fiddly this week.
Oh,
that's
I
why
guess
there wasn't an Everything's Fiddly.
I guess nothing was fiddly.
Yeah, unless you count the entire Meteor Bridge segment. Maybe I'll joke about that, right?
That was fiddly for 3 weeks worth.
All right. Okay, so without that segment that I just pulled, the show's an hour and a half, hour and 35 minutes.
Oh, man. How long would it have been?
What's that?
How long would it have been had you
it
kept
was another, I forget how long it was.
Yeah,
it would
that was
have
good.
been another 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So
Good
this
decision.
Means less work for me next week. Yahoo!
Now, it's
For
still
the
in the
record.
show notes, so don't forget to
No.
pull it there.
Not if you. No, it
I
won't
just-
be when
I just
when
refreshed.
push it up. Yep. So I'm editing locally.
Okay,
And it
got
will
it.
be when I push this, but I have editing to do on it yet.
Got it.
All right. So now it's time to. Right, here we go. Well, that's going to wind us up for this week. Don't forget to send in your dumb questions. And everything is fiddly recordings. You know, I didn't get any this week. And the only thing we can figure is that entire story about the Meteor Bridge gets to count as everything is fiddly, because that certainly was fiddly, but we were victorious over it. Anyway, you can send your comments and suggestions also along to me by emailing me at allison@podfeed.com. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm at Podfeed. Remember, everything good starts with podfeed.com like we talked about earlier. Want to become a patron? Podfeed.com/Patreon. Want to use PayPal for one-time donations instead? Podfeed.com/PayPal. If you want to join in the conversation like Tony Walla did in Facebook, just joining it for the first time, podfeed.com/Facebook. Or you can chat with us over in Slack, and that's podfeed.com/Slack. And if you want to join in the fun of the live show, where do you think you go? You head on over to podfeed.com/live on Sunday nights at 5 p.m. Pacific time and join the friendly and enthusiastic NosillaCast castaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. Boom. Ooh, I did that a little loud. I recorded that.
Yeah, see if that came across.
Actually, that's funny that it did, since its action was stopping it. Yeah, just
Yeah.
a little click. Talk to Allison via Telegram. Yeah, you can do that if you like. I don't push that too much. I mean, you know, for you special people, of course you should talk to me on Telegram. But not for Not for the whole audience. That's just for the cool kids. Let's see. I think that's loud, and I want to bring it down. To there. I think I go like this. Like that. I think I got it. Tools, magic levels. There it goes. I don't know why it does that quite like that. It's not really what I want. Use PayPal for one-time donations instead. Podfeed.com/PayPal. If you want to join in. That's not at all what I want it to do. Maybe I'm just supposed to select one. Maybe that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm still trying to get the hang of this ducking feature that I learned about. Maybe just that one. Can I do one? Magic levels? No, that's the exact opposite of what I wanted to do. Okay, let's undo that. Let me try doing that one. And do magic levels. Nope, that doesn't do anything. Well, I don't know. All right, I will do it the hard way. I will do it like this to here. And let's see, is that the way I do it? Nope. This is such a weird little tool. I almost like this tool. There we go. That's the way I do it. NosillaCast Castaways. Thanks for listening and stay subscribed. Ducking feature. That's pretty good.
Do you want that fade out at the end?
It doesn't really matter. I don't think I can fix it.
You can slide. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but I can't really fix it. It's going to do a quick fade now. It doesn't matter if it fades out by itself.
Yeah, it's almost gone by that point anyway.
Following, that's a proof term. Yeah, you heard when I said that one time, right, Mike? I hate that. I'm not doing it.
Stay followed.
That's so boring. It's good. Yeah. All right. Look how little I talk versus Bart.
Let me check. Wow.
In chit chat.
Was that security bits?
Or sorry, yeah, security bits.
Yeah. Well, you're kind of asking clarifying questions, right?
Yeah, and this one was a lot of good long storytelling.
By Bart.
Yeah. All right. Well, I am exporting, so I think I am finished. It was lovely having you all here today. We got out a little bit early because I didn't have to record too much. Thank you for coming, everybody. I guess we're going to say goodbye, Steve.
I guess we are. Thanks for joining us, chat room.
Oh, wait. Did we count chapters? No.
Oh. Well, let's do that.
Kevin's right there telling me to count chapters.
Yes, he did.
I
I got
can't see
5
them all, but
minus.
I think I have 5.
5 minus 1, 4, right? Because you took out. Oh, but you added one. You took out one, but you added one. You took out
5.
Weiss, but you put in a part of the post that was already not a blog post.
Right. So I think I have 5.
Yep.
That's what you think I should have?
You should have 5. We're good.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Good. We're set.
Fantastic.
All right. Bye, everybody. Bye, Rose.